Okay, I have a strange question somebody asked me, but here it is. When did the Exodus take place? You know, Moses, Red Sea, wandering in the desert for 40 years. So I thought, well, I'm going to answer that question, mainly because I'm really bored. Okay, so there's two schools of thought here. There's an early date and a later date. The early date's in like 1440 BC, 1400 BC. The later date goes all the way back into 1300s and 1200s. I had to look what the later date was. Um, so basically, here's what's at work. The biblical story in Exodus is Moses, a Hebrew, was put in a basket to be safe from being killed, brought up in the house of Pharaoh, which for my purposes I'm going to say is Tutmosis the third, but we'll get to that in a minute. And he became a prince and lived in Egypt for 40 years. After 40 years, he killed a man and fled to Midian for 40 more years. Now, Midian is to the east. Um, it's below the um, it's below modern Palestine. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank there for a minute. The word I wanted to say. Anyways, so after 40 years, so Moses is 80 years old now. He comes back into Egypt after having his experience with the bush at Sinai. And he said, Moses, the famous sayings, let my people go. And what follows is a awesome account of God's faithfulness and the plagues. That's a whole nother story. What we're concerned with is when did they actually leave Egypt? So here's my opinion, and here's why I think it. I think the Exodus took place somewhere around 1400 to 1440. And sorry about that. I'm having to look at my note. Anyways, okay, first thing. It says in 1 Kings that the Exodus happened 480 years after the fourth year of the reign of King Solomon. Now, if you do the math on this, this puts us in the 1400s. It's an idea. Secondly, Moses was sojourning in Midian for 40 years. So that means that Pharaoh had to be alive for 40 years because God only brings him back when there's another Pharaoh that doesn't know Moses. So the only pharaohs that reigned for more than 40 years is Thutmose III and Ramses II. Now Thutmose III reigned in that whole period of pre-1400s. Ramses II reigned in the 1200s. Don't think it's Ramses II. Now, if we look at the dream stela of Thutmose IV, which his son, third, fourth, makes sense. He said something very interesting. He said that to the effect of he wasn't the rightful heir, which means Thutmose III had a son that died, and Thutmose IV was just the next son in line. Which fits in perfectly to the 10th plague, the firstborn dying. So I think Thutmose the third is the pharaoh that we are dealing with, and Thutmose IV, his son, is the pharaoh that Moses is dealing with. Okay, so any other ideas? Well, what I think is there is a tablet called the and forgive me if I gotta look back to pronounce this, but how about I just write this for you because I am a poor Georgia boy and I have no idea how to say this correctly. But it's Mernepatha. Menepatha? Stella? I don't know. Anyways, this tablet, regardless of my poor grammar, was written around 1220 BC And it clearly said, hey, Israel is a country, or they're a people. Now there's another tablet, the Armada. No, it's not the hotel, and uh, I'm going to spell this one for you as well because I'm pretty sure that I butchered the pronunciation. I'm sure if my professors see this, that it's going to be very bad for me. But there's how you spell it. Now, this tablet was written around 1000 BC. Said the same thing. Israel is a people. Actually, it says the Hebrews, which is arguably the Hebrews. I think it's a good argument. I've heard some amazing Hebrew scholars make the argument. I'm happy with it. So, we also need to look at what we're finding in archaeology. Jericho, other places. It's exactly what the Bible says. And according to the digs, we're finding the 1400 BC date for what they're finding. Now, finally, we need to consider, when did Jacob come into Egypt? Because obviously that would have some bearing on when they left, when they got. I believe because of Exodus 12, that's somewhere in the 1800s. Now, not Annabelle himself 1800s, I mean 1800s BC. So, with everything I just said, I really do think that the 1400, 1440 BC date's correct. Just for a minute, for the sake of argument, I'll give the other side due course. The other side believes that the dates are figurative and not literal. They also believe that the Hebrews were building the city of Pithom and Ramses in the Delta region, and they do not believe that Thutmose III was a great builder. They also argue that the rule and reign of the judges of Israel was 180 years and not 250 years, which is what the earlier date believes. And they believe this because judges could have ruled together. I still, with everything, believe that the Bible is literal. I believe that the lower and higher textual criticisms that have been done in the last year have exhausted that. I do, or 100 years, excuse me. I do believe that the judges ruled and reigned for 250 years. There may be some overlap, but you really need 250 years to get everybody in. I think that the Hebrews were building, obviously. I don't particularly think we can with certainty say where they were building or what they were building. And Thutmose III is a great builder. Hell, he may have not been Bob Vila, but I think his pharaoh, any pharaoh, was going to build something to be remembered by. So, that's my opinion. I welcome comments, welcome corrections, and I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm just a poor country boy trying to figure out theology. See y'all.